Alright everyone, we're here with another UFS interview with the famous Piglet Porch.
It's a very nice porch.
Today we are here with the legendary David Wagoner, also known as Sketch. How you doing today, Wag?
Solid, man.
Awesome, awesome.
Beautiful day here in Atlanta. So,
Yeah, it always is.
can't I complain?
Summer down in GA, gotta love it.
Exactly.
So Wag, I'm gonna ask you a few questions about this year's Worlds Met and everything.
Alright.
First question, Wag, how is this year's Worlds different from last year's Worlds metagame?
Biggest difference is control is stronger. You've got a bunch of heavy life characters with really strong defensive abilities that you can't just ignore like you kind of could last year. So you have to plan for that. And also the aggro, like the top end of the aggro, is way more explosive than it was last year. So you've got to strike a balance. So, trickier to do.
Trickier to do, yes sir. Power cards in this format, Wag.
Okay. It's the usual suspects. A lot of the ones that people have already mentioned. Paralyzing Touch is insane. Playful Slice is a big enabler. In that same vein, you can look at like Churong, you can look at Mike, you can look at a couple other characters, but big power cards are probably those two. Those two kind of define the format for me.
Sure, I gotcha. I can totally agree with that. Alright, Wag, top 3 decks in the format, your opinion.
I'm not going to put Slice Kicks at the top like a couple of people have had, but it's definitely in the top 3. I don't really have a particular order for them. I would say whatever incarnation of Slice Kicks you like, whether it's Mike or whether it's Churong or even like Shanghua or Ava or just whatever character you slap in front of that deck, it's going to work. I would put Vespera just because she has face roll matchups where she doesn't even have to think and she just wins because she can just sit there and block everything and then just kill you. Past that, it's a little more murky, in my opinion.
Your opinion, though, of a third best deck.
Third best deck.
Most people have mentioned Slice Kicks and Vespera being the top decks.
Like those are the two obvious calls.
But I like the third best deck is a lot of just people's opinion.
I would almost go as far to say Kazuya.
Kazuya.
Because he matches up really well against Vespera, like that's almost like a face roll win for him. And he's got a big enough ass to put in front of Slice Kicks that if they outpace him too far, he can just reset and can just equins out that way or blow Slice Kicks up with Divine Trib. That would be another power card. So yeah, I'll throw Kaz in there. I don't know if, like I said, that 3 slot for me is very broad, but you could pretty comfortably put him in that category, I think.
Sure. What are you playing this Worlds and why, Wag?
I'm playing Air. I'm like 95% playing Tira. I've been playing her forever. And she melts people. It's really funny. She matches up. She can race Slice Kicks. That matchup is a complete coin flip. It's basically whoever wins the die roll wins the round.
Yep, good old aggro matchup.
Which is honestly about all you can expect percentage-wise against that deck, so I'm comfortable with that. Against like the other big hitters, like against Vespera, Vespera can have some trouble with her. If Vespera has trouble blocking high, and Concussion Blast with like Iron Wills in front of it and stuff like that can be a problem for that deck. Getting reversaled in that deck also not the end of the world if you go to a late game.
Sure.
So it's more surviving that far. Against pretty much everything else, the build I have runs well enough that I'm comfortable playing it against basically anything. Angels, I don't care. Angels, I can beat.
Because of your enhanced skips.
Yeah, that's the big component to that matchup. And by the time I get to the point where I have to attack with stuff that isn't Concussion Blast or Kneecapper, like I'm usually so far ahead that I can just win.
Now, Wag, we've seen you play the enhanced skips ever since they come out.
Pretty
Would
much.
you be willing to say that that's your favorite or one of your favorite mechanics of the game?
For standard, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And why is that?
Basically because a lot of decks rely very heavily on their staging areas for defense. So you look at decks like Goodwall, even Fire has enough damage reduction that it's relevant. There's a bunch of other ones. Stuff like Flexible Bodies, stuff like Sweet Nothings.
Right.
So what it does is it puts the opponent into a position where if they know that that's what they're going to be staring down, they either have to hold back those defensive pieces to block with, or they're forced to block with attacks.
So what you mean is it forces your opponent into dead cards.
Right, exactly. So
strong.
It changes. It basically, when you see those attacks in your deck or in whatever you're facing against, your game plan has to shift because you can't rely on being like, oh well, I can just sit here as Goodwall, for example, behind. I can play out. Like, if I'm Amy, I can play out 6 cards in my hand and just, maybe 3 or 4 pieces of it are damage reduction.
Sure.
And, yeah, I'll be okay because this 7-hand size character is not going to be able to kill me. Well, if I draw triple Conch Blast, you're dead.
Right.
Like, sorry, that's it. That's just the way it works. So, basically, regardless of, what character is fronting it or what winds up happening, it kind of forces the opponent to play at your pace. And it makes them usually build a little bit slower, and that can pay off late game pretty well.
Sure. It's the pressure. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the pressure you're applying that turn; it's the threat of that pressure and forcing them to hold blocks to deal with it.
Sure.
So.
All right, Wag. If you could change one thing about this metagame, what would it be?
God, only one.
Just one.
If I could change one thing, Jesus. Probably lower Vespera's life total.
Lower Vespera's life total.
Yeah. I think she would still be really good as, and this is going to sound extreme, but as a, 2022 hand size, or that would be great. A 2022 life 6-hand size character with her ability set. Her abilities are so good and so devastating, and so miserable to attack into.
Sure.
That her having 30 life on top of all that it's a problem. I think it's a big problem. It's obnoxious to deal with. It's not impossible to deal with, but like I said earlier, there are certain decks that she just face rolls. She just, oh cool, I see Paralyzing Touch every turn, and you can't kill me without committing to a huge attack, and if you screw up, I just turn around and melt you anyway. So that would, if it was only one thing, that would be what I would put that down.
Sure. All right, Wang. How about some shout-outs? Show some love.
The entire Atlanta community. These guys, especially our younger guys. I was out of UFS for, almost a year after Worlds last year. Or not that long, but probably about 6 months after Worlds last year. Just because of new job and stuff like that. And these guys brought me back up to speed pretty quickly.
We do like to test.
That's true. Other than that, just the community at large, honestly. It's the reason I keep playing. It's the reason I keep throwing money to go down to Gen Con every year and hang out with everybody. And, Luxac wins off of Birch.
Oh, yeah. Shots fired, Birch.
Shots fired. No, but in all seriousness, that's why most of us play, is the crazy amount of people that we've met and the fun that we've had doing it, so. What I got.
All right, Wag. Well, we appreciate your interview. Obviously, interviewing you because of a undefeated record in Swiss at last year's Gen Con and a top 8.
Yep.
So, all these interviews are definitely with top players from last year, getting their opinions on this year's meta. Thank you for your time, Wag.
No problem.